All right, welcome back. So, yesterday I told you guys that we needed to look at a map of Europe, or in this case, we're going to look at a world map, so we can kind of get a better idea of why these European countries are coming to the Americas to colonize them. Um, so, I've got pulled up a world map, as you can see. Now, this is a current world map, so this isn't exactly the same map that we would have seen in 1585. But this is going to, I think, help us understand a little bit why these countries, this is Europe, by the way. So let's do some just basic geographic labeling. So, okay, let's make sure we at least have this down. So let's look at continents. So continent, okay, Canada, United States, Mexico, Central America. All of this is North America. We look down here, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador. We keep going. This is all South America. The ocean that is between the United States, or North and South America, and Europe is the Atlantic Ocean. That makes this, again, these countries that you see right here. Right here. This is Europe, okay? This is Europe. The large continent that we see right here, this is Africa. We move to the east and we see this large landmass. Essentially, we're talking about almost all of Russia. There is some parts of Russia that are actually in Europe, but if we were just cutting a line like right down here, or I guess more so like right here, all of this over here is Asia. We come down here. This is the Indian Ocean, right under India, in between Africa and Australia. And then our last continent is Antarctica. Man, if I could go somewhere on Earth, that's where it would be. All right, let's move up. So now, our focus today is, why were these countries coming all the way over here to colonize? Well, first we have to kind of think about the term colonize. So, what were they trying to do? Now, we're going to see some different colonies have some different ideas as to what exactly they are coming over for. I will say this: some of the earliest colonization attempts are more so to create business ventures. And we saw this with Columbus. How he was coming from Spain. Spain is right here. He was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean and into the Caribbean islands, into South America and even Central America. We saw that they were trying to find gold. They were also trying to find natural resources. Now, why is Spain selling all the way over here for natural resources? Well, after, again, America Vespucci had essentially discovered that this new world, or these islands that Columbus had thought were part of Asia, were actually a new continent, thus then named the Americas. This opens up a lot more in terms of trade and extraction. I guess that's probably the best word to use, extraction. So let's look at it. Okay. Now, once Columbus realizes that these little islands right here are not connected to Asia, again, Asia had been settled. Asia has been settled for a very long time. It is thought by anthropologists that life began in Africa. And this is essentially like life began in Africa and in the Middle East. This is where all of the three Abrahamic religions spawned from. They actually spawned from, I'll show you. And this is pretty wild because this is the part of the world that we hear the most about in terms of conflict. But we're talking about this area right here. And again, as you can see, when I zoom out just a little bit, this area right here is, kind of in between Africa and Asia. And we believe that life began somewhere around this area. Life on Earth began somewhere around this area. Now, this is important for us, as you know, this is also important for like how the Americas become so kind of cast aside and forgotten about and essentially unknown. So if life began again somewhere in this area, then life also can spread from that area. So you see that again, life spread from this area into all parts of Africa and even into the islands surrounding Africa. There's the Canary Islands right here, Madagascar right here. Life spread from there and into Europe. Again, all this is connected, and even though like the United Kingdom, which is Britain, England, even though it and Ireland, even though it is not connected by land, again, it is a short boat ride. I'm trying to remember. I think it's like 50 miles, maybe. It might be shorter than that. I don't know. I'm not like 100% on that, so don't quote me on it. But I don't need directions to there. But you see right here, again, this is this is a simple ship ride just over the English Channel. So again, life spread from, again, this area up north into the Nordic countries and Northern Europe. Life spread throughout Asia from this area into India, into Russia, into China, and Japan, and these islands that we see south of Vietnam. And then what we talked about last, I guess like 2 weeks ago now, is how life spread, again, across Asia and over what is known as the Bering land bridge. So they got a lot of Russian names out here that I cannot pronounce. So again, long time ago, thousands of years ago, these two lands were actually connected by ice. But over time, as the climate warmed, or the climate became, there was a changing climate, this ice bridge essentially melted, and it separated these two continents from each other. So, and also something that sometimes we don't think about, Alaska is the largest state in America. And when you look at this map, you can really see about how large it is. It is about the size of half of the continental United States. But that's kind of besides the point. After this, so life spreads again from Asia into the Americas and all the way down through North and South America. But when that land bridge is gone, now this part of the world is separated. It is separated. So while all of this is being settled, it is being essentially, it is in the process of being industrialized. We're into some problems. They need more natural resources, especially these countries in Europe. Notice how much smaller these countries in Europe are compared to some of these other countries. Okay, so let's look at some of the bigger countries in in Europe. France. Okay, France is, as a country, well, let's go ahead and zoom back out again. France is nowhere near the size of the United States. France is nowhere near the size of Canada. France is nowhere near the size of Mexico. Nowhere near the size of Brazil. France is, again, relatively a small country, but it is one of the larger countries in Europe. Look at Germany. Again, same thing. Spain, same thing. Turkey, same thing. Ukraine, same thing. These are large countries within Europe, but in the scheme of things, like look at their neighbor. Russia is the largest country on Earth. Look how big that is. But again, it tells us a lot that they have very limited land. And I have this equation that I call it the power equation. So why were these countries colonizing the Americas? Well, if you have more land, then you have more resources. If you have more resources, then you have more money. If you have more money, you have more power. And if you have more power, you have more influence. That is essentially what I call the power equation, which I guess maybe I should call the influence equation. But in order to have influence, you have to have power. But you don't necessarily have to have, well, I mean, yeah, you have to, in terms of how countries operate, you have to have money. Third world countries do not have the influence that first world countries do. You have to have land. Portugal doesn't have the influence that the United States has. Switzerland is a pretty rich country, but again, they're so small that I'm just gonna show you Switzerland real quick. Switzerland's right there. So small that again, it doesn't have the same amount of power that larger countries like the United States, Russia, China, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, these countries have. Now let's look just at the United Kingdom. So there's a problem that they have. So again, when we talk about England, we talk about Britain, we are talking about this right here. Now, Now, the United Kingdom actually embodies this part of Northern Ireland as well, but let's just focus on this landmass right here. What do we notice right off the bat? It is an island. It is an island. They cannot expand their territory without going into Europe and taking over territory. So they have a very limited amount of resources within their country. So why do they need to colonize the Americas? Because they've run out of resources, or they are going to run out of resources. And again, the only way they can get these resources, if we're talking about like gold, silver, lumber, timber, different plants used for medicines, this, that, and the other, what they have to do is they have to sell to Asia, because these are the places that it's really Asia and Africa are the continents in which they are trading with early on. But when all of this opens up, well, now it's a free-for-all. And guess who is the closest to all of these, this new world? Well, it is these European countries. So they become reliant on the resources that they can extract from here. Now, this helps us out a little bit, because as we continue, now this week we're looking at the lost colony, and you guys are coming up with some disappearance theories. I like this because it does kind of turn history into mystery, or mystery into history, whichever way you want to look at it. I really like talking about the lost colony. I also like to see kind of what you guys can do in terms of research, which is why I wanted to go ahead and do that this week. From here, though, we are going to look at the next colony, which is Jamestown, which is going to be in Virginia. So just to give you a little bit of a heads up, the Jamestown colony, in the beginning, its, initial mission is to do two things: is to set up a colony so that, again, they can set up trade between the New World and the United Kingdom. Let me move up. And Britain. But also, it's going to be to search for Roanoke, to search for the lost colony. I told you guys yesterday at the end of our notes, this wouldn't be the last time. There would be another search. There would be another search, but there would not be another search by John White himself. So Jamestown is going to be like in this area right here. And again, as we see, it is not far from Roanoke, not far from Roanoke at all. Roanoke is right here. So hopefully looking at this map kind of helped us out a little bit, and discovering why this is happening in history, So hopefully you got a little bit from this. Again, today, what I've asked you guys to do is to start doing some research. On your lost colony disappearance theory. So what I want you to do, just in terms of attendance today, I guess my initial goal was for us to have an assignment every day, but when we have bigger assignments like this, it's kind of hard to do it every day. So I've given you some guidance, kind of how you should pace yourself. Today, what I want you to do is I want you to pick out your theory. And I want you to do some research. If you don't have like one distinct theory and you're kind of debating between a few, comment that. And I'll help you out. Okay. Uh, Again, I just want to repeat this. The theories that I posted yesterday, the site that I posted had like 8 different theories. Those are the ones you should be choosing from. Are there others that you could choose? Yeah, but you'd be really hard pressed to find more logical theories. Unless, if you have something that you think actually happened, hopefully you've done a lot of research, and we'll see what you come up with. But I would again choose from those theories. Look at which one you think is the most plausible, the most accurate, the most probable, and do some research. You will have to include at least 2 additional sources. I just gave you something to kind of introduce you to the theories. You need to dive deeper and do some research. Okay, so do your research today. Tomorrow, we're going to look at the background. On Thursday, we'll look at kind of those, the evidence behind those theories. And Friday, you're just essentially putting it all together. Okay? All right. Appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow.